Okay, let's get right into it. 2026. For the Manila hospitality market, this year is shaping up to be a strategic collision of, well, unprecedented scale. You've got this absolute tidal wave of new hotel supply, and it's on a direct course to crash into a geopolitical crisis that has completely rewritten the rules of global travel.
So first, let's talk about the boom. We are looking at a staggering 12,249 new hotel rooms set to open their doors across the Philippines in 2026. Now, this isn't just a little bit of growth. No, this is the single largest injection of new supply that this market has seen in almost a decade. It's going to be a fiercely competitive landscape, to say the least.
And then, the shock. A conflict erupts in the Middle East, and suddenly jet fuel prices just go through the roof. We're talking a peak of over $157 a barrel. Think about that. The cost of flight to the Philippines, it surges. This threatens to completely cut off the flow of international tourists at the exact moment thousands of new rooms desperately need to be filled.
So this right here, this is the central paradox. Is this the perfect storm? The one that's just destined to swamp the market in a sea of empty rooms and rock-bottom rates? Or, and this is the important part, for those who are prepared, is this actually a critical moment? A strategic opportunity to outmaneuver everyone else? Well, that's exactly what we're here to break down.
Here's how we're going to walk through this. We'll start with the supply influx, then dive into the cost push crisis. After that, we'll look at the algorithmic solution, see how the ASEAN anchor plays a role, and finally, we'll give you the Rev Expert verdict.
All right, Act 1, the supply influx. To really get a handle on the pressure the market's under, you first have to understand just how massive this expansion really is.
So when you look at what's being built, the composition is absolutely critical. The upper mid-scale segment, it's completely dominating, making up almost a third of all the new rooms. And believe me, this is no accident. It's a very specific strategic bet on volume being made by the country's biggest developers. Why? Simple. They're chasing lower construction costs and, you guessed it, faster returns.
And this is where you can really see the geographic crunch. Let's just look at Metro Manila. 3,100 new rooms are about to come online. But the key isn't just the number, it's the location. Over two-thirds of them are jammed into just two areas, the Manila Bay area and the Makati CBD. You can already see it coming, right? This is creating the perfect storm for some really intense localized price wars.
Okay, Act 2. Look, a supply glut on its own is a big enough problem, but when it smacks right into an external demand shock, that's when the situation goes from bad to critical. And that's what this cost-push crisis is all about.
The real engine driving this crisis? It's jet fuel. You had the conflict in Iran, and prices just exploded. They went from a baseline of about $90 a barrel to a peak of $157. I mean, that's more than a 70% jump. Airlines have zero choice here. They have to pass that cost straight on to travelers, which is absolutely crushing demand from those critical long-haul markets.
But here's the thing, it's not even just about the price of fuel. The conflict has also created these huge airspace restrictions over the Middle East. So what happens? Airlines are forced to reroute their planes. That adds hours to flight times, which, burns even more fuel, and it reduces the number of flights a single plane can even make. The end result? Fewer available seats on those key international routes into Asia. It's a vicious cycle.
And the impact? Oh, it's direct, and you can put a number on it.
Analysts are projecting a catastrophic collapse in bookings from those key long-haul markets. We're talking declines of anywhere from 25 to a whopping 60%. For that price-sensitive European leisure traveler, a trip to the Philippines just became completely prohibitively expensive almost overnight. So, with a problem this big and this clear, the industry has been forced to innovate just to survive. And that brings us to Act 3, the algorithmic solution. Let's be blunt, the old way of setting hotel prices, it's completely obsolete.
The new weapon in this fight is called algorithmic yield orchestration. And I want to be clear, this is so much more than just simple dynamic pricing. This is a full-blown AI-driven system that is constantly watching millions of data points, everything from flight bookings and competitor rates to what local events are happening, and it uses all that data to adjust prices in real time to squeeze out every possible dollar of revenue.
And the difference this makes, it's absolutely staggering. Just look at this comparison. Where it used to take a human up to 2 days to fix a single rate parity issue, these AI-powered systems get it done in under 30 minutes. That kind of speed and precision leads to a 12 to 15% jump in revenue per available room. Oh, and by the way, it also cuts your operational costs by up to 70%. It's a game changer.
Let me give you a real-world example of how this actually plays out. So, picture this. A wholesaler in Europe leaks a discounted rate online. In the old days, that mistake could go unnoticed for days, maybe even sparking a price war with your competitors. Not anymore. Now, automated web crawlers detect it instantly. A specialized agent in what's called a Manila revenue pod immediately isolates the source and, boom, shuts it down through an API. The whole thing is resolved in less than 30 minutes. Your margins are protected, problem solved.
So technology is your defense on the micro level, but you also need a macro level strategy. And that brings us to Act 4, the ASEAN anchor. Because in a market this volatile, sometimes one single major event can be the lifeline you desperately need.
So in 2026, the Philippines is holding the ASEAN chairmanship. Now this means hosting hundreds of meetings all year, but the one we really care about is the 49th ASEAN Summit in November. It's happening in Pasay City, and it's expected to bring in over 5,000 high-value delegates, right into the heart of the most oversupplied hotel district in all of Manila. This creates a massive and, more importantly, a predictable spike in demand.
There is a catch, though. The summit itself is under a lot of pressure. I mean, we're talking about a proposed budget of 17 billion pesos, right in the middle of an economic crisis. So naturally, there have been calls to postpone it. For the hospitality industry, you can imagine, this is an incredibly high-stakes debate. This summit isn't just some diplomatic get-together. It is the single most important demand catalyst of the entire year. It's absolutely essential for soaking up all those new hotel rooms.
So, that brings us to the final verdict. When you're facing a market this complex, this volatile, what is the mandate for leadership? What are the absolute non-negotiable strategic shifts you have to make if you want to win? First things first, your toolkit has to change. It's not about room rates anymore. Not really. Leaders have to master TRevPAR. That's total revenue per available room, which means focusing on every single dollar a guest spends on the entire property. You need to embrace attribute-based selling, unbundling your rooms to sell specific features like a great view or a balcony. And when a huge event like the ASEAN Summit comes around, you absolutely must use data for displacement analysis and implement strict minimum length of stay controls to maximize every bit of profit.
And all of that leads to the ultimate mandate for 2026. It's a fundamental shift in your mindset. You have to stop selling rooms and start selling profitable attributes. The game is no longer about filling beds at any cost. It is about total revenue optimization. And let me tell you, mastering this shift, it's not optional anymore. It's essential if you want to avoid becoming obsolete.
And so, that leaves us with one final, crucial question for every single industry leader watching this. As you stare down this paradox of massive supply and extreme volatility, you really have to ask yourself, is your strategy for 2026 built on hope, or is it powered by an algorithm?